Hi, everyone. I'm Pam Ing. I'm a product marketer for the Google Display Network. I want to thank everybody for joining us today. You're attending the Learn with Google webinar, getting started with the new remarketing tag. And this is the third in a series of Learn with Google webinars that we're running on remarketing. So if you're interested in learning more on a particular subject, we've got two other webinars coming up. The first one on similar audiences on November 27th, and on December 12th, we're going to do a deep dive into remarketing with Google Analytics. If you've missed the other two we've already run, good news, you can go to the Learn with Google webinar page. You can see the URL at the bottom of the page and see the recorded versions of Getting Started with Remarketing, which was a broad overview of all of the remarketing solutions with Google, and also how to use YouTube and video remarketing. So a couple of housekeeping notes before we get started. We're going to take about 45 minutes or so to run through the content, and then we'll have plenty of time to answer your questions. And you'll notice that on your screen there's a series of widgets for you to use during the webinar, and the first one is the Q&A widget. So if you do have questions as you go, please feel free to submit your questions, and we'll make sure we'll get to as many as possible at the end. If you do happen to use social media, there's a Twitter widget at the bottom, and we just ask that you please use the GDN webinar hashtag if you're tweeting about us. You can look at the resources widget to link to our GDN playbook, which is a really useful resource, for using GDN, including a lot of information specifically about remarketing. And just a reminder at the end, or at some point towards the end, please take a second or two or a minute to fill out our feedback survey. It's really useful in improving how we deliver these webinars to you. And there's a special chance to win and be entered for a Nexus 7 if you do fill out the survey. And so now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce you to our speaker for today, Susan Park. Susan's a global product lead for the Google Display Network, and she'll bring us through today's webinar. Hi, Susan.
Hi, Pam. Thank you so much for the great introduction. Welcome, everyone. I'm really excited to go through a recent launch of ours that launched in July called the new remarketing tag. We're going to go through an introduction of this new tag and what it does, how you can get started using it, what are the next steps to creating powerful list strategies, so how you can actually use the tag to create powerful things. The next is how you can then use that to set up audience segments to help hit your marketing goals better. And then we'll go into a little bit about Google Tag Manager, which is a brand new product that brings this all together. And then we'll get into next steps and some questions. So without further ado, we'll just get started. So just in case some of you did not attend some of our previous webinars about remarketing, we wanted to introduce a little bit more about what remarketing is and why it's so important. So the biggest touch point about remarketing is you can drive customers back to your site with tailored messaging. You can maximize your investment in search by integrating display into your campaigns. You can basically follow up with consumers interested in your product all across the Google Display Network. And because you will have the power of Google Display Network on your side, you'll be able to achieve massive worldwide reach with the Google Display Network. We are able to hit about 84% of people on a typical remarketing list within a month. So for every customer that comes to your site, you will have a very powerful display system working for you to bring that customer back to your site and get them to do whatever you would like them to do that you think it would make you successful. So why does tagging matter in this whole remarketing game, and why did we spend so much time introducing a new product? So the reason why tagging remarketing matters is the same reason why it's also important to have a very good analytics system on your site. What you can basically do is have smarter segmentation if you have your entire site tagged, because everything that goes on your website is telling you a little bit about how that customer is interacting with you and your business. From there, you can have smarter ad delivery, and then you can even dive deeper into your audience insights across your site, similar like you can do in your analytics systems, and even syndicate out those learnings in your marketing campaigns. So this is a big reason for why we realize that tagging matters, and that's why we launched the new remarketing tag. And this is some of the key elements, what we launched with the new remarketing tag and why we think it's such a great thing. So first is that we heard a lot from customers that tagging is not the easiest thing to do in the world. So we launched this new remarketing tag to make tagging easier. We think the implementation for this tag is one of the smoothest that you'll see for across your entire site. But what comes with simplicity, we actually also have the ability to create very powerful remarketing lists or audience segments or even groups of people who attended your site so that you can talk to them more efficiently. We also have significant amounts of back-end optimization. So basically all of these signals that you choose to send over to Google within this tag, we can ingest a lot of them and put them into bidding signals to help place your ad better for the right consumer at the right time. And on top of that, the tag can also take in dynamic values, also known as things that you want to custom tell Google about your audience so that we can, again, inform your display campaigns with remarketing better. So let's go into detail about the first point, the easy tagging implementation. So in the past, and this is how remarketing traditionally works, is that advertisers needed to create tags for every action or type of page that they want to segment with targeting. So for instance, you see here, if I wanted to create one remarketing list or one audience or user list of people who had seen tripods, I would have to put one tag on my tripod page. And if I wanted to differentiate between the tripod users and, say, camera users, I would have to put a different tag on my camera page. And what would show up in the AdWords interface is that I have one list per tag. So you can see here that for the camera page, I have a camera page tag, and then for the tripod page, I have another tag. What we did is eliminate the need for multiple tags. So what we actually launched with it, not only the ability for one-time tagging, is the ability for you within AdWords to tell what kind of pages you're on, no matter what kind of tag is on the site. So now with the new remarketing tag, all the advertiser or you as the customer needs to do is place one remarketing tag across all pages of your website. Then through the AdWords interface, through this powerful list building UI, you can define which page categories to target by entering the URL visit. So this is one of the most powerful parts of this new launch. Isn't just the new tag, it's the list builder that we launched with the new tag. So for example, in the UI, you now see that you actually just have one tag. It's called the main list, and that same tag went across your tripod page and your camera page. However, you still wanted to create two different remarketing lists. You still wanted to create a tripod list and a camera list. Because this site has camera and tripod within their website URLs, we can base lists on that. So every time a user hits a website or a web page on your site with the word camera in it, we can create a list off of that, and now you only need one tag for multiple lists, when in the past you needed multiple tags for multiple lists. So now, to sum it all up, you can now get all the signals that you need to create powerful marketing campaigns from one tag. So that's why we really recommend, before you even start creating different lists for each of your customer segments, that you paste the new remarketing tag, which is a small snippet of code that we recommend for you to put into the footer of your website and across all of these pages. So now we basically removed the handcuffs away from you understanding what kind of visitor behavior is going on and not being able to remarket to them by saying, okay, now you can place one tag across your entire website, and now you can build a list based on the home page, T-shirt pages, confirmation cart pages, or even payment pages. But what does this mean for you and your marketing campaigns then? Now that you can put this tag across all of your site, what does this really mean? So what this actually really means for you and your business is that you can have smarter segmentation. By tagging your entire site, you can create very specific groups of users with highly targeted creatives and bids. No longer do you have to just choose five or six different tags to place upon category of pages and have to keep track of all of these tags you've deployed across your site. It's just one tag, and whenever you want to, on your will, based upon your website URLs, you can create these different lists, and then possibly send bids or values, because lists and bidding happens that same way as well. So for example, since you have one tag across your entire website now, you can, for all of your homepage users, so people who've hit your homepage, you can actually send them, remarket to them with ad creative asking them to come back. And maybe you have it at a lower bid because these customers have not exerted the fact that they're going to be very valuable customers to you. But what if you have a list now of people who have already gone through most of the payment process but dropped off of the funnel? You can maybe send them a custom offer and give them a discount for their purchase. And since you know that that person really came through, liked what they saw to the point, you can also bid at them higher because you know that this will most likely lead to something that will return for your business. So we talked about how you can do this and what this actually means for your business, but how do we actually do this in a little bit more detail? So you can define remarketing lists using your site URLs, and URLs usually include words that describe the content of each page, like we described before. So I wanted to give a concrete example of this within the UI to give you a visual example of what we mean by site URLs. So here we can define a list of users using the T-shirt page of an example website because the URL above the T-shirt actually says T-shirt. And how we can do it with this powerful list building technology that we launched, it says URL contains T-shirt. You then can create the list, label the list T-shirt, put in a description of it, and there you are. You have an example T-shirt list. But I know a couple of you guys are asking yourself, okay, that's great, but I don't know if my website URL structure is actually this simple. And if you're not, and we're not asking you to redesign this web structure, the structure of your websites as well. So that's why we have an option for dynamic variables with the tag, which is currently in beta, for you to use custom parameters for advanced setup. So this is in beta right now, and currently it's not available to every advertiser, but it is something that we will launch to everybody within the next year. But in this case, if your website URLs don't contain the words you need to define your list, you can actually pass through custom parameters, also known as key values, in the remarketing tag, define your list based on those parameters. So I just said a lot of big words, so I'm going to give you this example of a Nexus 7 page. So as you can see in the middle of the slide, the website URL does not say anything remotely related to Nexus 7. So unless you had a full inventory of all of the numeric characters of your website URLs, it would actually be really hard to build a remarketing list based upon all your Nexus 7 users. So what you can actually do with this new remarketing tag is ask your webmaster to input in some code to pass to, within the tag, a more user-friendly or even a more readable variable, such as P name or product name is Nexus 7. So when that gets passed through the tag, it automatically syncs with AdWords, and that P name variable shows up in the list builder UI, and then you'll be able to say P name equals Nexus 7, and you'll be able to create a list from there. So that's an advanced customization in beta, and that's why we think that no matter who you are or what level of sophistication you are, this new remarketing tag could really take the handcuffs off of remarketing and expanding your remarketing campaigns and really allow you to use all of this great data that you have on your website about your customers and reach back out to them in your remarketing goals. But I know you have questions on when should I use a standard versus custom implementation. So we kind of went through high level what you would need and when. So in the standard implementation, where you would just need to just put the tag that you get from the AdWords interface on every page of your website, is if you just needed to create lists based on your web page URLs. There was some sort of system to your website URL tiering that you could take advantage of and create lists. The pros for this is that it's easier and it's faster to implement. You can also create as many lists as you want based on your URLs visited, which is also great. The con is that the list definition is defined by your website URL structure. So you can only really define lists based on your URLs. Now for custom implementation, where you can create lists based on custom parameters, the pros are obviously it's more advanced user segmentation because you can use custom parameters, and you can even bucket users more efficiently because you're pre-selecting how you want to set up parameters. And you can also do more advanced things in the future in terms of advanced ad creative messaging. The cons, it requires much more technical expertise and IT resources, and a webmaster would definitely need to be involved, or at least someone who understands JavaScript to be able to dynamically pull in those variables. So that's kind of an introduction to the new remarketing tag. Now let's kind of move into getting started and how you would actually utilize this tag in AdWords. So we're going to go through a walkthrough in a step-by-step detail on how you would get started with remarketing. So the first step is actually to go to your AdWords interface or log into AdWords, go into your remarketing list audience page from the shared library, and you actually have two options here. If it's a brand new AdWords account, there is actually a tag already in existence there called the main list that you can take out, and that could be your remarketing tag that you place across all the web pages of your site. You actually don't need to create a new tag. However, if you're an existing AdWords client who has already used remarketing, which is great, and we're very happy that you're here as well, what you can do is create a new remarketing list. And when you create that new remarketing list, that will eventually create a tag for you as well. So what you would do is you would create a remarketing list, label the tag, and everything like that. The next step would be that you accept the remarketing program policies and make sure that your website policies align to, and you are sharing with your customers and your users what kind of information you're storing within their cookies. The second step is, since you created a tag with that list, you place that tag across all of the pages of your website. Again, it's the most recommended way to go, and it will definitely open you up for more stronger and powerful strategies in the future. After you've split the tag across all pages of your website, you can actually then go back into AdWords. So you would log back into AdWords now, and now you can actually create all the lists that you want. So the step one was, even though you were creating a list, you actually were extracting a tag, and now you can go back into AdWords and build new remarketing lists based upon your URL structure right away. So for example here, you would go to the Shared Audiences tab, Shared Library tab, click on Audiences, create a new remarketing list, and you could say URL contains, and whatever your website URL or web page, whatever structure you would like to create a list on, you can then create a list. You can also set the membership duration. You can name the list, and then we always recommend putting a description in terms of what parameters or what things you put into the list when you set up, so that if you ever have to go back in the past and look through all your lists, you'll remember what you did. So those are the 5 simple steps to actually get started with remarketing. And the next step, though, is, and which is actually the harder part of it, is how do you actually create powerful list strategies? Now that you are live with remarketing, you understand how it actually works and how to implement it. What can you actually do with this pixel and information on your site to AdWords to make your AdWords campaigns more powerful? So the biggest idea here is that not all website visitors are created equal, and that's the kind of information that you are deriving from that pixel on your website, is that you're getting the ability to segment your customers. You can break down your audience into different subgroups of users based on what they viewed on your site. So for instance, you can then use that powerful behavior to do very cool things. The most likely thing that people do to in order to drive performance is then customize your creatives and bids to all of those audiences or remarketing lists or just customers who come to your site that you've identified for certain behaviors with certain creatives and even bids. So you can show your customers tailored creatives and adjust your bid and maximize the return on your investment. So to kind of take this further, this is how I've seen from customers how they usually characterize customer value in line with their marketing message. So for instance, it's very intuitive. If someone is just searching on your site, reaches the very top level, their customer value is probably pretty low because they haven't really told you what they're really interested in buying and what they're looking for. As they go through the purchase cycle and they go deeper and deeper into your site, their customer value actually increases. And that's where you'll be able to, if you can segment them, and if they drop off in any way, you'll be able to restart the conversation in a much more powerful way, and you'll be better informed on how much you're willing to pay for that customer to come back to your site. So that's the main gist of what we want to do here. We're giving you the ability to create audiences and customize bids and creatives to all of these groups of people who have come to your site, and we would love to empower you to give the right value to that person and what you want to do with your marketing. So the example strategy number one, a lot of this stuff is very e-commerce related, but you could even think of the confirmation page as submitting information for you to follow back up. There's a lot of things that we can do that we can liken to your customer funnel. So one of the bigger strategies is remarketing shop to visitors according to purchase intent. So here's an example strategy. Just re-engage with users who abandoned their shopping cart. This is probably one of the most used strategies in remarketing today. This customer highly got to the point where they were just about to do the action that you wanted them to do, whether it be completing a lead form, whether it be looking up a store locator, or any other kind of performance metric that you need to accelerate your business. And you can re-engage with them easily. The next strategy is actually you can even remarket to visitors is another way you can remarket to visitors according to purchase intent, and that is the upsell or cross-sell to existing customers. So customer loyalty is key. You are more than able to create a list of people who have actually gone through the purchase cycle and have bought from you. So now you can even show them ads based upon things that they have bought, similarly, and cross-sell to them, or even ask them to come back when you have a sale or have new inventory that you think they might be interested in. So those are two strategies that we think are probably the most powerful in terms of what we see in performance. But we definitely recommend for you to think about your customer goals and your customer objectives. What do you need? What do you want to do? And what kind of behaviors do you want to drive on your site and bring people back to do? And that's why we think it's so important to tag every part of your site, is that you'll be able to inform now your marketing decisions with all of this stuff. So now let's get into more of the nitty-gritty here, where we're going to talk a little bit about setting up audience segments. So these are the strategies that we go through, and we went and what kind of audience segments that we think you could set up that aren't just customer funnel related, but maybe even related to just activities on your site. So the first method is actually building lists on an or condition example. So what this basically means is that you can, if you are a high-tech advertiser of some sort and you want to show ads to people who have visited your computer pages, but you just wanted to include desktop and laptop products, so you even wanted to do segmentation within one of the key strategies, you can use the or condition example. You want people on your list who hit two different types of pages. One is a page that says laptop and the other page that says desktop in it. So what you would do is you would say URL contains desktop or URL contains laptop, and basically you will have a list created from people hitting two different types of pages. So this is the OR example of how you would create segmentation within your remarketing campaigns. The next is how AND works. So again, this list builder UI is pretty powerful. You can create lists based upon website URLs, but you might also want to do an AND example. So the AND example, say a high-tech advertiser wants to show ads to people who viewed the details page of its desktop products. And this is really very important because sometimes I think people think that the AND actually works like an OR. So I'm going to spend a little bit more time on this. So for instance here, you can see in the website URLs, both of them say desktop and details, and the other page says desktop, another product, and details. So as you can see here, there needs to be the URL rules, which are listed here. URL contains desktop and URL contains details, have to be true for that one page view, for that one website URL. It is not an OR. Both of those conditions have to be available in that one website URL, and then that user list can accrue. So if you ever wonder about this and you want to double check, you let the list grow for a couple of days and see if it's grown to the amount of traffic that you would think would come to that page, and double check. If that web page is about the same amount of traffic that you would see in your Google Analytics account, you have definitely set up the list properly, and you are more on your way to building more advanced lists. So what you can even do is combine the AND and OR. And again, this is for probably people who have a ton of products or a ton of visitors within a certain segment, within product categories or things like that, and they really want to drill in even deeper for products or even an action that returns a really high ROI or return on advertising spend. So for instance here, we can have both the rules work together. So what if we want a high-tech advertiser to show ads to people who view the details page of its desktop or laptop products? So basically, this advertiser wants to find customers out there who got not just to desktop or laptops, but also looked at their details and did a little bit more research about them. So URL contains desktop or URL contains laptops. Basically gets you that initial list of people who looked at either desktops or laptops. But that AND example of getting to the details page basically makes it so that the details and the desktop page, that page view will only accrue then. So as you can see here, this website customer remarketing list will shrink once you add an AND condition, because you're adding another parameter to shrink down what qualifies to build on that list. If you don't want to do this kind of combined behavior within the website URL itself, we also have a higher level combination form that we've had in remarketing since the beginning called custom combinations. So you can use custom combinations to combine lists. So these other examples of the ANDs and ORs, you are creating individual lists of user behavior, which sometimes people have a very high level of lists, and they actually want to just combine the list behaviors and add the users into each other. So what we usually do to do that is something called custom combinations. So the example here is that a high-tech advertiser wants to show ads to people who viewed its computer products but did not view the product's details pages. So it's the opposite of the previous example. So the advertiser would create two lists, number 1 and 3. He would create one list for the laptops page, contains URL laptops. He would create another list that would contain detail pages, and then create a custom combination that's described below. As you can see, it uses logic to aggregate the users together, and that's a very powerful also way to create your lists if you want to add or subtract in a cleaner way without having to manipulate list rules. So all in all, there's a lot you can really do with your remarketing list now. And we kind of wanted to kind of sum up all of the benefits of the new remarketing tag really quickly and cleanly. So the most powerful thing with this technology, and which I kind of really geek out about, is this list building UI and the ability to create sophisticated remarketing lists. The harder part about all of this remarketing is for you as an advertiser to look at your website and think about the type of people you want to reach out to, because now we've removed a lot of those handcuffs for you to be able to reach out to them in the proper way. We definitely recommend doing it in high volume segments so that it's worth the effort and your time, but that's one of the main benefits. The second now is you have one-time unified tagging. You can place a single block of code across your entire site, usually in the footer, that can create all of these powerful remarketing lists. We do have the ability in beta with custom parameters to integrate with dynamic ads. You can actually reach more people now as well because you have the remarketing list across your entire website. You can do more advanced things, even in new customer acquisition. And the last is you have access to automated bid optimization and remarketing. So you can provide better performance for your ads with all of this information that you're sending through the pixel through to AdWords. And we have some automated bidding techniques as well, such as conversion optimizer and enhanced CPC that we've built into the remarketing campaigns, and we highly recommend that you use. So that was basically all of the power of the new remarketing tag. What we wanted to preview as well is something called Google Tag Manager that I'm not sure this audience has heard about. But as you heard when I was talking, it's mostly about one tag. But we have actually many tags at Google. The smartest way to tag your site for free is actually Google Tag Manager. And this is very interesting because the Google Tag Manager can be the vehicle for where you place the remarketing tag across all of the pages of your site. But if you wanted to do more with Google, such as put in conversion tracking, or do different, or you have multiple AdWords accounts and you wanted to have multiple AdWords remarketing accounts, so you wanted to have multiple AdWords remarketing tags across your website. Google Tag Manager is actually the most flexible way to do this if you have multiple tags that you would like to deploy. So what does it actually do? It actually provides you with marketing agility. You can add tags anytime to your website without waiting on your web development team or waiting for the queue, or even waiting or enlisting the help of an external third party to push tags to your website. You'll get dependable data. You can get really great insights and smart decisions, and it's quick and easy. The implementation is very comparable to the newer marketing tag. It's the same sort of placing 2 lines of code across your entire website and being able to deploy all of the tags that you would need across. So let's go a little bit more into the nuts and bolts about how Google Tag Manager works. It's one snippet of code on every page of your site, which probably sounds familiar to you. It's very similar to the newer marketing tag. However, with the newer marketing tag, all that is code, and we provide you with a list building interface in AdWords. What Google Tag Manager does is the same snippet of code that goes across your entire website, but with it becomes an easy web interface that helps you keep track of your tags and fires these tags based on rules that you define. So when a user visits your site, the most up-to-date tag configuration is sent over to the end user's browsers with instructions for which tags should fire. So what this tag container system actually is that it sits on your website, just like any tag would, and it understands, based upon this web interface that you have access to, when it should fire tags and when, what tags it should fire and when. So you actually put tags into those web interface, and it will push onto your website. So no more waiting in queues. If you want a new conversion tag or a remarketing tag or any sort of third-party tag, this is totally compatible with a lot of third-party tags out there as well. So, and you can push through an interface to your website as easily as posting to a blog or posting an update to a really easy updatable section of your website. So we actually are super excited about Google Tag Manager as well because we think it's giving advertisers the easier long-term solution, because at the end of the day, there are multiple tags that Google uses. We use the remarketing tag, we use the conversion tracking tag, and there's even a Google Analytics tag. So if there are multiple tags that you would like to use with Google and you want to have all of the power of remarketing, Google Tag Manager is actually a very nice implementation method if you see in the future you might need more tags on your website. So with that, we are back to the summary of next steps and questions and answers. So I think we're just going to open up to the floor to see if you guys have any questions about anything that we reviewed.
Thanks, Susan. Appreciate it. It's Pam again. Just wanted to cover a couple of the next steps for what you can do if you're new to remarketing. If you are new to remarketing, go into your account today and you can get your new tag to get started. But as Susan had mentioned before in her presentation, if you're already doing remarketing with Google, if you already have the AdWords account set up, we recommend, again, to place the new remarketing tag across your website. It makes it so much easier for you to be able to expand your remarketing strategies. And, of course, I'm in marketing, so I have to do a plug for our next two webinars where we'll cover similar audiences. And in December, we'll cover remarketing with Google Analytics. So just go to the Learn with Google webinar page. I had seen a couple of questions actually on maybe this is how we should start the Q&A. As we did have a couple of questions on the differences between Google Analytics and remarketing, the new remarketing tag. So Susan, just kind of as a general question, we will definitely go into a much deeper dive in this December 12th webinar, but if you could kind of summarize, like when should people consider using the new remarketing tag versus remarketing on Google Analytics?
Definitely. That's a fantastic question. So the purpose of both of the launches was actually to make tagging easier. So the Google Analytics tag, we wanted people to take advantage of the Google tags that you already had on your site. So if what you want to do is advanced strategies or simple remarketing lists built upon URL strategies, and you don't want to do things like custom parameters or anything like that, Google Analytics is actually a great way to move forward with remarketing. There's no reason to retag, do anything different, and it's actually a great way to get started. If you want to do extremely advanced dynamic creative, some of our other beta products that aren't fully launched yet, if those are interested in you and your client has, or you as a consumer have so many site visitors that you want to do super simple, super advanced segmentations, and you really want to label what kind of lists you make, that's when you would use a new remarketing tag, but then you would use a new remarketing tag with custom parameters. The Google Analytics, if you have, as you should across your entire website, and you're just thinking about the new remarketing tag without any custom parameters, Google Analytics is probably the better solution for you.
Great. Thank you, Susan. So another couple of questions really around kind of existing users who have the old remarketing tags currently installed on their site. Do you need to remove the old code of what you've already installed, or does the new remarketing tag code just automatically replaces it? So a couple of related questions around that.
Great question.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Great question. They are totally compatible. You can put them on the same page. And actually the recommended method of updating is placing the tag across your entire website, waiting, because as everyone knows, only user lists can accrue once the tag is placed on your website. Maybe waiting 30 days or however long your cookie window is, and then removing the old remarketing tag. However, if you don't want to do that and you don't want to remove, you can keep them coexisting together using the list builder. And since the list builder UI uses website URLs and what's the instance of it, it kind of understands how many users, because it's a cookie behavior, has seen that URL, and it should be fine in order to create one list based upon that, and that's why they can coexist together. So long story short, they can coexist. Recommended path, put them on the path together unless you want to start your user list at 0. Maybe after 30 days, remove the older tags just so that you keep your site as clean as possible, and then you can move forward.
Great, thanks, Susan. Then we have a bunch of categories around list strategies. So, a bunch of questions around list strategies. So they might be a little random, but they're all within kind of this general topic. So
great, bring them on.
Yeah. Okay. List strategies 101 or 201. The first question is it possible to create a remarketing list based on people who interact with your website? For example, social things like a like button or a +1, tweet, share, etc.
Great question. So there's actually 2 ways that you could probably do it, depending upon, again, what kind of method of remarketing you're using. If you're tracking, you can, within the custom parameter, there's 2 ways you can do it, in my opinion. Is in the custom parameter option, there is the ability to pick up that kind of behavior. So if someone hit a like button, that is a signal on your website, and if your website development team can indicate that that is an action to tell that to the tag, that can definitely be a list behavior that is passed through the new remarketing tag with custom parameters. However, it's a customized parameter for it. The other lower scale version of that is instead of social activity on the site, people have been creating remarketing lists based on referral traffic to their site from social networks and things like that. And that can also be based just upon URL strategies or even done within Google Analytics really simply. So it can be done with activity. It's harder to do, and you'll need to do it with custom parameters in the tag. But if you and your webmaster can figure out a way to signal within the tag that this is occurring, and a lot of times it's pretty easy. It's a simple JavaScript edit or some kind of one-by-one edit to pass to AdWords. We can definitely create a list if that's a custom variable that you have defined.
Okay. And I think, speaking about custom parameters, this might be a custom parameter question. Someone asked, how do I target a section or a subcategory of a website that has different quote-unquote friendly URLs? There is no one word in all URLs, for example.
Exactly. Then a custom parameter implementation would probably be the best by far, unless there's some sort of subcategory or numerical value that their webmaster used to create structures. So it is, with this new remarketing tag, a little bit of a practice of going back into your website and really understanding how the structure works and how your customer works through this process, and to see if you can find corresponding behaviors. But it is, once you understand your website structure and behaviors and understand what you can do with that, you can go a long way. If your website URLs just aren't compatible, there's ability to create custom parameters. Again, it's in beta right now. We hope to be pushing it sometime in mid-Q3 to have it available to everyone and have even more advanced list builder and tag building strategy so that you can pull in these values. But that's within the next year. And you wouldn't need a new tag then. You would just need to edit your tag with these custom parameters. Or if you did an amazing thing and were able to deploy Google Tag Manager across your site, all you would need to do is go into your Google Tag Manager interface, and they actually have a built-in custom parameter setup, and make some changes to the tag and the code at the same time.
Right. So I just wanted to kind of go back a little bit because there were a couple of questions around just the fundamentals of list strategy. So I'll read one question that's related to it. Someone's asking, what's the best way to target my remarketing list on the GDN as users from my site are visiting other GDN properties? So kind of
totally.
Yeah.
No, that's a great, great question. So I would actually go back to what is on your website, what do you want people to do the most? What is the action do you want people to do the most? And what is what is the point to where a customer was just about to do that and they didn't? So what point were they when they were just about to get there and they weren't? At that point is probably your highest value remarketing list. So you should definitely create a remarketing list there. So that's usually an abandoned shopping cart, or it's usually someone dropping off of a lead form, not submitting it, or getting to even a customer loyalty page or an offer and not printing it out, not printing out directions. Those users who got so close to doing what you wanted them to do are the very first people that you should create lists for, because they're your highest target, highest value. Those are the people you definitely want to come back to your website because they were just on the cusp of doing what you wanted. So that's the best list I think you can do first. From there, because basically what you're doing there is plugging the end of your customer funnel. You're making sure you re-engage with any person who's come to your site and basically walk through your door. You're basically sending them follow-up in other ways, not just by email or other loyalty programs. So from there, after you plug your leaky funnel, do the next exercise. What is the next best valuable? And then from there, what is my next best valuable? And from there and there and there. And then before you know it, you have a remarketing strategy for every single part of your customer funnel, either bringing in and just pushing them through the cycle. And then after you have that full list of your whole cycle covered, you could even take all of your audiences and you negate them in other AdWords campaigns. So if you ever wanted to do new customer acquisitions through other display campaigns, you can use your audience as a negative and say, I know all of these people have already come to my site. I'm reaching them through other means, through maybe email marketing or remarketing campaigns in general. I don't want to hit them again with my new customer acquisition strategy. So I'm going to add them as a negative, and I just want to have my other display campaigns bring in new users to my website. So that's, in general, how I would think. Plug your leaky funnel first, and then expand to make sure that the whole process is taken care of, and then think about new customer acquisition.
Great. I think there's a couple of related questions around this topic about, if somebody ends up, if a user browses several pages on your site, they end up being captured across these several tags. They're basically essentially on a bunch of different lists. Like, what determines later on what ad creative they see? So it's kind of, I think about kind of, there's a couple of questions around, like, not duplicating efforts if people end up more than one marketing list.
Right. So that user, all of these lists will come together, but at the end of the day, that user is identified with one cookie. That user may have hit a lot of pages, but it's one cookie that AdWords can read, and will place them on the appropriate list based upon that one cookie. So even if it would be a totally different situation if that cookie unification wasn't there, but because that one cookie has followed that user throughout their whole process, they will be placed on the appropriate list.
Okay. This is another list strategy question. I think for someone is asking, if your website does not have a shopping cart, how can you use the remarketing tag? Like, is it beneficial, or what are the possibilities?
Definitely. So depending upon what your business is, I used to work extensively in lead generation, which is a great thing, just finding customers, people filling out forms, or like I said, printing out store locators or directions. Figure out what do you want people to do on your website? Is there an action that you want people to do and repeat? For e-commerce advertisers, they want them to buy something, and they want them to repeat buying. For someone who is looking for real estate leads, they want someone to fill out information about themselves. So it really can be used in a multitude of ways. It's just how you want to identify the best valuable action on your website and speak back to that customer so they can come back and complete the action. Or even if they've completed it and you want them to do another similar action. So let's say you actually did get someone to sign up for your newsletter, or for your travel company, or or your event. You got someone to participate in your event, and you had another event, or you have another similar event that you think this customer would like. You could cross-sell to them, or give them another event information and bring them back to your site, because if they've already if they've become a user to you once, they could become a user to you again. And this is a great way to hit them with another message in other ways than just direct email marketing.
Okay. Kind of related, but about sophisticated list strategies, like how do we segment based on cart abandonment? So everyone who purchases will have also viewed the cart, meaning if we match in technical code /cart, those who purchase will also be remarketed to as if they had abandoned. Is there a does not contain quote in the logic?
There definitely is. I didn't spend a lot of time going into the negative things. I talked about a lot of the things that add on to each other. But in the list builder, there's definitely options for something like does not contain or exclude, usually through a custom combination. So what would you do for a cart abandoner? You would actually create a page of everybody who hit the shopping cart, create a list, of everyone who hit the shopping cart page, create a second remarketing list of everybody who hit the confirmation page, and then make a custom combination of I want to see people who hit the cart page, and as a negative to that, I want to subtract out all of the users who actually bought. So that's subtracting the confirmation page, and who you end up with are people who abandoned the cart and did not buy. So you can use custom combinations to negate audiences.
Okay.
And again, it's one cookie, so that the right users will be placed on the right list.
Great. Thanks, Susan. This is a question about being able to create a custom remarketing list based on your target audience, so like demographic information like age, age range, geographic area, etc.
I'm sorry, can you repeat the question?
So the question is, can you create a custom remarketing list around your target audience? So, for example, like a kind of remarketing list that includes age range or geographic area, those kind of details.
So because the remarketing, again, there's two ways to do it. First, if your website URL structure is based that way so that you send users of a certain demographic age or gender or geographic area to certain paths on your website, there's a way to do that with the list builder. However, very few websites are that segmented per geographic area unless you have like a map location tool or store locator tool. You would most likely need custom parameters to somehow tell that information to AdWords based upon geographic location or gender, or however you would differentiate that on your website. There might be a way to do it more robustly in Google Analytics, easier initially, because there's a lot of customer profiles and geographic information there. Age and gender is very hard to do. It's harder to do, but if you can create a customer profile in analytics about those topics, you could probably create a marketing list about it as well. So basically, the Google Analytics, if you already have those tags on your websites and that's the kind of targeting you want to do, you would look into creating a customer profile of people who are high value, and you can import that into AdWords and retarget to them.
Okay. I have a very specific question about GDN and managed placements. So this attendee is saying that they use managed placements for their GDN campaigns. With remarketing, can I make a campaign with automatic placements to only target users all over the GDN that have visited my site but have not submitted a contact form?
Yes, you can definitely do that. The way you would do that is using probably a custom combination. You would have a remarketing list of people who hit your confirmation form and started to fill it out, and then you would have a second list that you built of people who actually have confirmed. You would negate the confirmation form, and then you would create that custom combination, and then once you input that list into your remarketing campaign, it's eligible to appear all across the GDN. So no matter what, that remarketing list will be the source to target everybody on the GDN and that's how you can achieve that reach.
Okay, sounds good. I have a kind of turning the subject towards Google Tag Manager. The person asks, like, where can we get the Tag Manager pixel? And a related question around Tag Manager is also that if you use Google Tag Manager, do we need to use the Google Analytics asynchronous tracking script?
Okay. So one, in order to find the Google Tag Manager script, that's a great question. There's actually a website, I think it's google.com/tag manager, or you can do a search for Google Tag Manager, and it will take you to the Google Tag Manager site where you can set up an account, and from there you can extract the code. So it's not available in an AdWords linkage today because, but that may be something we do in the future. But that's where you can find the Google Tag Manager code. Second, in terms of Google Tag Manager and Google Analytics code, there is not much you would have to do to edit the scripts, edit the code of Google Analytics. Google Tag Manager would actually contain your Google Analytics code, and Google Tag Manager actually it doesn't fire asynchronously, but it's very close because it's JavaScript code. So if you're worried about like web page latency and asynchronous fires, there are modifications you can make to try and make it go faster. But I believe it's either asynchronous or very close, and that kind of changes to the website code, the analytics code might not be necessary once you input it into the container.
Okay. So we're running kind of we have 2 more minutes to answer questions, and I know we have a lot more questions on the board here. I'm going to point everybody on the screen. You can see that you can continue this conversation at the following URL. We'll post some of the questions or the questions that weren't answered on that board and have answers for you. The second thing I think everybody wants to know is whether they can get a copy of this presentation. We're not going to send an actual copy, but if you do want to review this materials, it will be recorded, and you can access it on the Learn with Google webinar page. So if you missed anything critical, feel free to kind of re-look at the video again. So I guess we have time for one more question, Susan. Thank you for plugging away. It's been really great. But the question is, can you remarket through GDN to people who are actively searching on Google using your keyword list search retargeting?
No, you cannot actually do that today. We have a new product that we currently don't offer that, and we don't have anything actually on the roadmap in the near future to do search retargeting. But we do have, which I actually think is even more exciting, is what we call remarketing lists for search audiences, which is basically all of your remarketing lists that you've built. Instead of remarketing to people, because at the end of the day, they're intention signals. What you're gathering when someone is typing in, shoes, they're looking for shoes. What we have is kind of the reverse, is that if they've been to your website and you've identified them as looking for a high-value customer, you can overlay your remarketing list into your search campaigns and either bid up higher for these people who are searching for these keywords in your account, or exclude them, or show them specific messaging and all of that stuff. That's also in beta. It's in an open beta. We announced it in July, but you would need remarketing lists in the first place to be defined. But that's actually more of the direction where we're going, is where we're overlaying audience data into search campaigns versus retargeting to people who have searched for specific keywords.
Okay, so I'm going to close it up for everybody. We've run a minute over time, but I think it's just a testament to the great questions we asked of Susan, and we really appreciate you being here for us as a resource. And so everyone, just a reminder, we'll have these remaining questions up on the message board within this URL link. And the last reminder is just to fill out the feedback survey. We really appreciate it. You have a chance to win a Nexus 7 as a result. And also in the resources link, download the GDN playbook to find out more. So thank you everybody for joining us, and we hope you have a good rest of the day.